This report changes the entire narrative around the Chicago Bears this season, what this bombshell report means going forward. Welcome to Bears Digest, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Dylan Guinzy. Thank you for joining me again today. If you have not subscribed, please do so. It looks like 67.5% of you are not subscribed, so please do so to get those continued updates going forward for your Chicago Bears. We'll jump right into it here today. We are covering Mike Sando's recent article from The Athletic. This is going over NFL quarterback tiers. So 6 GMs, 6 assistant GMs, 6 former GMs, 5 other execs, 8 head coaches, and 19 other coaches, including 15 coordinators, comprised Sando NFL's 50-person panel. The goal was simple: tier every veteran QB in the NFL. Did they get it right? As we get into this report, I want every one of you to comment down below if you think it is fair, not fair, regarding Caleb Williams, your Chicago Bears quarterback for this upcoming season. So as we hop into it, this is the ranking that Sando and company did release about Caleb Williams. 23 was the ranking for Caleb. I'll let that sit in for a little bit, and you guys let me know what you think in the comments down below. Fair, not fair, just right. What do we think going forward here for Caleb? What I think about this ranking is I think it is a little low. I'm not too surprised with it overall. I could see it being higher. I could see it being lower. I could see a range of different outcomes, anywhere from, ranking at 18 all the way down to 25, somewhere in that range. Now we'll get into it here shortly regarding who is around him, what other quarterbacks are around him on this board from these polls that these coaches and Sando have compromised. But overall, I think that this ranking is a little bit inflated due to people's opinions on Caleb overall, maybe as a person and not necessarily a quarterback. So if we get into the entire ranking and the entire list of those around him on this board here, we have Drake May ahead of him, Sam Darnold ahead of him, Bo Nix, Geno Smith at 19, Trevor Lawrence at 18, Tua at 17. You see Kyler Murray over there at 15 as well. Just taking a look at this list overall, I think Caleb Williams should be above Drake May, Trevor Lawrence, and Geno Smith, and possibly Tua if we're basing this off of last year's stats and overall accompanied situations and everything going on with the league. Now, as I'm saying this is compromised of coaches that have been going against these players, front office folks that have been going against these players as well. And just overall a list of guys that are actually in the league. So it's not, the athletic reporter Mike Sando kind of compromising this list on his own. This is a bunch of GMs, coaches, everything together like we saw in that first slide, compromising this list on their own with their own opinions. Overall, I think it's a little low. I think it's a little bit disrespectful, even being in the conversation around Bryce Young and Kirk Cousins. Even if you look at Drake May, just one spot ahead of Caleb Williams, everybody loves to comment on Drake May and how great of a season he had and how bad of a season Caleb had. Well, if you do compare those two seasons, Caleb Williams was light years ahead of Drake May in every single statistical category. Now, if you just listen to the national media, you listen to Colin Cowherd, Dan Orlovsky, other guys around there on ESPN, Fox, and other places, that is not going to be true. Now, I'll be the first to tell you guys that Chicago is a massive football market. So these reports that you guys get coming around, these narratives, these TV hits that you see posted on Twitter are all gathered up from guys that know that Chicago fans and the media are going to click on to all this stuff. As you see, this is what I'm doing right now, right? So everybody knows that. And if we say good things about Caleb Williams and those, a lot of people aren't going to click on it, right? A lot of people don't like Caleb Williams for whatever reason, whether that's his fashion choices, outside of football interests, things like that. People do not like Caleb, and people like to feed into the bad and negative narratives about him. So when you see those This list does not surprise you. You would think so if you're just kind of scrolling Twitter and different articles throughout every day. But overall, this report kind of changes that entire narrative for Caleb. What I mean by that is last year we came into the season with so much promise, with everything out in front of him. You know, this guy can completely reinvigorate this Chicago Bears team. However, the situation behind him was never going to work. And anybody with a brain really did see that. I think people got blinded by them being excited with the number one overall pick coming into town and him being somewhat of a generational QB that's thrown around all the time nowadays. But with that being said, everybody kind of got blinded by Matt Eberflus's head coach. Going into the season, Shane Waldron was horrific at offensive coordinator. Even the players did speak out about it, about how he was not prepared. He was not holding people accountable. And that is a recipe for disaster for any rookie QB. And that's what led to him maybe being a little bit slower and not as decisive with his reads and progressions, maybe taking too many sacks and things like that. Now, that can be coached out of any talented player. Any player can learn that. That is not difficult. We'll get into some of these graphics that we have here and some of these quotes from different people. So going on to what I just said, this quote from an anonymous GM from the article, I think that will come in time, a GM said. Maybe it is a little bit like Josh Allen early in his career, where he has so much so good other stuff that you will live with some of the negative plays, and as he gets more snaps under his belt, that part will come. So that is exactly what we're talking about here with Caleb Williams. And overall, Josh Allen, his rookie year, had 10 TDs and 12 picks. And everybody was labeling him a bust, and he wasn't good. All this stuff, all these things from college are translating the NFL. He's going to be terrible. Why did the Bills make that pick? So on and so forth. Well, they were absolutely wrong. Now going into Josh Allen's second season, he had 3,000 yards, he had 20 TDs, and he had 9 picks. Guess what that does not amount to? Caleb Williams' rookie stats. So I think just these narratives that are created about these players and about these quarterbacks are more for attention grabbing and clicks, not necessarily about, what the future holds and things like that. Now, talking about the narrative overall, like we were just referring to with Josh Allen, everybody was labeling a bust. They were writing him off right away. And then he came on and took the league by storm, which the people inside that building knew he could. He just needed reps under his belt. He needed to get some bad habits out of the way. He needed to be coached correctly, and that's what happened. And the same can be said with Caleb, and I would like this season going into it, I would like the narrative to be that Caleb is not good. Caleb is a bust. He's not going to figure it out. Ben Johnson can't get him on the track that he needs. I would love that. And I think a lot of people should embrace that, and they should love that because he's going to prove everybody wrong in that aspect. Even if he had the same exact season as last year, he would break more records yet again. And if he just tacks those sacks down by half, 60%, 40%, whatever that is, if that sack number is down, you're looking at a playoff team and a capable offense. So not much else really needs to be done. I think he is favored to do better than last year. Obviously, there is going to be some growing pains going forward, just with the offense overall and everything like that. It takes time to learn Ben Johnson's scheme, but we want this narrative to stay that way. This is going to make everything better when he is good and when this team is good in the future. So that's what we want. What is that quote that people say? If you're on that side, stay on that side. Us Bears fans are loyal. We're going to stay here to the end until the wheels fall off, and that's how we're going to do it. So just getting into some of the other quotes that we saw in that article from The Athletic. This is from an anonymous head coach. You saw signs and ability, and I also think you saw signs and ability that scare you. Nervousness in the pocket, inability to see and play on time, but I do not know yet if that was him or coaching. Parts of me wondered if you could get it done with this guy, but it's good enough to make you think you have a chance. Next one up from that article from a defensive coordinator. He's got the talent to go up, but in terms of processing ability and getting the ball out of his hands, it was the worst we played against. The defensive coordinator said, he just holds the ball forever. I'm thinking the ball should go right there. Throw it, and he did not throw it. Now, just kind of going back on this aspect here, I don't know what defensive coordinator did say that about Caleb last year, but I would sure hope it's the Titans defensive coordinator in week 1, because that was really the only game that he was, not good, and that's a rookie in his first game. And the Bears won that game anyways. I sure hope it wasn't Brian Flores, because Caleb did have 735 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, and 0 picks against Brian Flores last year. And every other team in our division, I hope it wasn't their defensive coordinators either, because Caleb did not throw an interception against any NFC North teams all season long. So I don't know what defensive coordinator said that. We do know that he needs to work on that processing ability, and that will come. That's what Ben Johnson and staff are finally teaching him and ingraining into his head. He did not get as many reps as every other quarterback out of last year's draft in college. Jaden Daniels had hundreds more snaps than he did. Bo Nix had probably thousands at this point. Everybody else had more snaps than him in college. It was not a true, 1-2-3 progression style read offense with Lincoln Riley. So he does have some learning to do in that case, and everything that Ben Johnson is saying, that he's doing a great job at that. So we'll see how that progresses and how that continues. There's clearly stuff that Caleb does need to work on in this offense, and I am confident, and everybody else should be confident since the coaching staff is confident that that will happen. So going forward, guys, we should not take too much stock into these narratives and these articles that are coming out and the hate before the season. We let the play do the talking once the season starts. Very excited to get this season started. I do hope to see Caleb out there this week in the preseason game against the Bills. So we will stay tuned on those updates. When we get those, I'll be out here with the news for you guys. So with that being said, we will see you next time.